Podcast Answer Man, episode number 83. Hey everybody, Cliff Ravenscraft here, and I am so excited to bring you another episode of the Podcast Answer Man. This one giving you my full review of the Griffin iTalk iPhone application. Now, for those of you who are subscribed to the blog over at podcastanswerman.com, you've already seen the post out there, and hopefully you heeded my warning of getting that application while it was free. In fact, as I record this, I believe it still is free. But by the time that this is released, who knows? So it's an application that is available for the iPhone. It is probably one of my favorite applications by far. And I'd like to tell you just a little bit about it briefly. Now, if you are an iPhone user and you got as excited as everybody else in the world about the launch of the App Store, you probably were, and of course, if you're listening to the Podcast Answer Man, you're probably interested in all the voice recording software that was out there and all the applications for voice recording. And there were definitely no shortage of those, although they all fell very short in that they compressed or reduced the size of those files so much that the quality is just horrendous with every one of those voice recorders. Well, Griffin iTalk really changed the whole landscape of these recorders. In fact, I will tell you that I've recorded now 2 full episodes of podcasts using the Griffin iTalk application. And let me go ahead and just play for you a little bit of My Crazy Life episode number 320 right here. And this is all using my iPhone.
All right, guys, I am continuing my recording. We're back at the house now, and the kids have been playing hide and seek up here. Matthew's jumping on me as I climb up the steps. Uh-oh, who did that? Which one was it?
All right. So anyway, that is a little bit. So you get to hear that. The sound quality is pretty darn good. It's not as good as an Edirol portable digital recorder or a Zoom H2, but the quality is outstanding considering the fact that this thing's with you all the time with your iPhone, and that recording was using simply the internal microphone built into the iPhone. Now, of course, I have the iPhone 3G, and I know that the microphone and the speaker are kind of retooled from the original iPhone. So I personally don't have any experience recording audio using the original iPhone, but I do know that there are many folks out there that have. The thing is, if you plug in your earbuds with the little microphone into the iPhone, it will actually take the microphone from the earbuds and use that microphone. So some folks have given me some feedback saying that, it's not that bad with those either. In fact, it's really good for voice recording if you're out walking and stuff like that. Now, the really cool thing about this application is that it's real simple to use. You open it up, you hit record, and you can name the file right then and there. But the best thing is that this thing is not compressing the heck out of the audio. It records into Apple's proprietary, Apple Media, AIFF or whatever. I think I'm pretty sure that's Apple. But anyway, it records into AIFF and it produces very large files. You do have the option to do good, better, and best quality. And I always suggest going best, and you can always compress your audio down later. But not only does it record in high quality without compressing all your audio, it also has some really good high-end algorithm of doing some good automatic gain control. For example, you heard, let me go ahead and play just a little bit more from this episode here.
Some criticism that is very good, very
Okay, and so that's a little bit, and here's another piece
of this software for the Podcast Answer Man show.
All right, so you can hear it basically it's all whenever I'm talking, it always brings the audio levels up to right about where I think it should be. And the other day I was at church, and this clip is absolutely going to blow you away. There's no doubt in my mind that you're gonna hear this and you're gonna be, what? That was used. Well, let me just go ahead and play it. I'm gonna play probably about 10, 15 seconds here.
When I think about the Lord, how He saved me, how He raised me, how He thrilled me with the Holy Ghost, how He healed me to the utmost. When I think about the Lord, how He picked me up and turned me around.
Okay. Yes. Internal microphone on my iPhone, friends. Did you hear that? Now, let me tell you, my church meets in a high school auditorium. And that music was extremely loud. And did it peak? Absolutely not. It has this wonderful ability to gain the audio up and down depending upon the whole sound picture. It's basically monitoring it, so you don't have to fuss around with the gain control up and down, up and down. Now, a lot of people say, oh my gosh, Cliff, aren't you concerned that if you promote this iTalk application and people can start using this on their iPhone, that people are going to quit buying Edirol recorders? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And here's why. Would I suggest that you not purchase an Edirol recorder for field recording, for your podcast that's very important to you? Absolutely not. Now, I've been playing around with iTalk for the last 2 days with the My Crazy Life podcast, which is my daily audio journal into my search for and my pursuit of a balanced life. And this is a podcast that lends itself well to the use of of the iTalk application, because it's just random little bits of my life here and there. But if it was for anything else that was a little bit more important, for example, doing a sound singing tour or going out and doing an interview out in the field, there's no way that I would use the iTalk application. And here's why. And this is why I always tell people I love the portable digital recorders, even if it's the Zoom H2 or the whatever it is. But I believe wholly, with all of my being, I believe that for recording, it's best to use a device that was made solely for the purpose of recording alone. That's its main intent and purpose, and that is the type of software or hardware that I'd like to use to record, something that was meant to record. And so that's why I'm not a huge fan of iRivers. I'm not a huge fan of of iPods with little microphone attachments and stuff like that. And I'm not a huge fan of iTalk for depending upon producing a podcast. However, I will tell you, listen, let me play it again.
When I think about the Lord, how He saved me, how He raised me.
Sounds awesome, doesn't it? I mean, it is amazing, and it is the best thing out there next to having, a portable digital recorder with you all the time. And I think it's awesome. Now, here's the deal. Why do I say, it's best to get a piece of equipment, a piece of hardware that is made specifically for recording? Well, what you didn't hear me say yet, and what I'll share with you now, is that, with the reason why I don't like products that aren't made specifically for recording, because they're not completely 100% tested for and designed for recording. And what I'm about to play for you, I'm going to play for you 2 little clips from my recordings yesterday. And what happened is there were glitches in the audio recording yesterday. Now, what you're going to hear is the unedited version of a little clip from yesterday's podcast that I recorded. I know I'm talking in circles, but anyway, bear with me. Basically, the only editing that I've done on this is I actually reduced and de-amplified or turned the volume way, way down on this glitch in the audio. In fact, the audio glitch that you're about to hear was peaking, and it was extremely loud, and if it was unedited, it would be excruciating and blow the eardrums out of anybody who is listening to your podcast recording without headphones. So here's what it sounded like.
A podcast for my client, CorvetteChief.com. So 6 podcasts necessary to get all those posted to the right places.
There you go. And this, my friends, that is what happens, I believe, when you would depend on a piece of hardware that's not designed for recording. And in fact, here it is. This is in the same recording, only later, and there's nothing that I can find. It's been in both recordings that I've used for full podcast recording. Nothing that I can find that's caused this, that there's any rhyme or reason yet. But here's another sample of that.
Going to now work on editing down out a special edition of the Podcast Answer Man because...
Okay, so there it is. And again, please understand that the actual noise that you heard, de-amplified by 32 decibels, okay? If that tells you anything, I will tell you, it would blow your eardrums out. So number one, you're going to have to open up every single one of these recordings just to make sure those things aren't there. And if you open it up in editing software, trust me, it's very easy to see because, like I said, this thing does a really good job of not peaking. But at the same time, when it has this little glitch, it goes way off the charts, and you will certainly see it in your editing software. But that's the iTalk application. Hopefully, they'll get a lot of people who experience that glitch, that sound in the audio, and that maybe they'll release a new version, an updated version of the application, and it'll be fixed. Because I will tell you, it is beautiful. I love it. Let me tell you some features I love about it. I've already shared some, but the other feature I love is that you can append any of your recordings. So I can have like 6 different recordings on there. And if I click on one of them and click to highlight any one of the recordings that I have, I can hit the record button again, and it'll say, do you want to start a new recording or do you want to continue recording on this episode? And if I, let's say, and what I did is there were 5 or 6 different times yesterday throughout the day that I just hit record and continued recording. So I had one episode at the end of the day where I had all these different little bits and pieces of my day where I recorded. So it appends the AIFF file. It starts right where you left off and continues on the recording. And that is beautiful. And so basically what you have to do is you have to transfer those over to your computer. Now they have a free software called iTalk Sync, and iTalk Sync will sync that audio off of your iPhone over to your computer. Currently, they have the Mac software available for free, or available already, and their website says that the Windows version of the software is due to be released here very shortly. So basically, all I did was I opened up the application and installed the software on my Mac. It immediately saw my iPhone. I said, the iPhone pulled up and says, hey, there's a computer that wants to connect to your data here. I hit yes. And then it shows all the stuff on my Mac, and I just dragged it over to the desktop. Took a little bit because the files are good size. I think a 30 megabyte or a 30-minute file was like 120 or 130 megs, which is not too bad. And then I transferred that over, uploaded or opened it up in my editing software, and then of course I saved it out as an MP3 file and released it as some podcast or some My Crazy Life episodes. So I'll tell you what, I'm pretty darn impressed. I would never suggest anybody rely on this for your podcast recordings if you're out there and you're really serious about your podcasting. But if you're out on the road, you forgot to bring your recorder with you, or you want to interview somebody, just know that there are some glitches right now in the audio. But overall, this thing's pretty darn amazing. And with that, I'm gonna close this episode with the recording that I made on my iTalk at church this weekend. We'll talk to you soon.